Hello and welcome to Mad About Sports for yet another live stream. And today we are here to talk about Indian football because India played an entertaining 2-2 draw against Iraq. Now, you all might be wondering why are we here after India's loss against Iraq? But you can say that certainly was one of the most exciting performance of Indian national football team in the recent past against a top quality opposition where India held on Iraq for a 2-2 draw. Eventually, India went on to lose in penalties, but there's certainly great positives out of the game, which we are here to discuss on this live stream. I have Antariksh with me. Antariksh, what a game of football that was on display by the international football team because you saw a steer improvement from entirety of the team, and you saw how they took a 70th ranked team. India was in the lead, and as always, everyone is talking about it. India were robbed off in the last moments of the game, or else this could have been historic, isn't it?
It would have been. If I'm not wrong, we've never beaten Iraq, right?
We've never
So
beaten
I
Iraq.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah. It was such a great game, and you know what people are actually terming it as, and I know they don't mean it that way, but they're terming it as, India held Iraq. But to be honest, it was Iraq who escaped defeat. Like, if we're being really honest, you know what?
Yeah.
I had to go on to the Wikipedia page and search Kings Cup and then see the rules there, that there was no extra time. Had there been extra time, the ex-Manchester United player Zidane Iqbal was sent off, and I was, you know what? On one of the groups, I was celebrating. Yes, 30 minutes of extra time with a man down. We're gonna win this one. And then I saw the penalties happening. I was like, no, you know what? But man, I both the goals they scored, doubt. I mean, a penalty is given, but big doubts over it. Were they? Were they not? Igor Stimac, very vocal on social media, as he always is throughout his stint. He connects with fans really well there. So he was
Yeah.
like, not even the referees will stop my boys now from winning. So these kind of games
Yeah,
come and go in
absolutely.
football. But the brand of football is coming, which is the most important thing.
Absolutely. As he says, our boys left everything on the pitch tonight, and I'm immensely proud of them. Someone who's decided to rob them from winning tonight. But the time will come sooner than many expected that even referees will not be able to stop my boys from winning such games. I mean, it's unfortunate that those refereeing decision handball from Sandesh Jingin, which was called,
Yeah.
I felt it was berserk. It was so not a handball. And you
Yep.
had to have such a moment to stop India from winning yesterday because India was good. I mean, you can see in the last 30 minutes, Iraq put a lot of men inside the box. There were a lot of
Yeah.
crosses coming in. The fullbacks were left open there. They were having, much more possession of the ball. And obviously, India tried to keep a defensive mid block after having that 2-1 lead, obviously. But you have to say, despite all that, India did show a lot of promise with that kind of team. Because remember, India did not have some big stars yesterday. Sunil Chetri was not in this squad. Manveer was told to play as a left wing back in middle of the game. I mean, you have to say, under Igor Stimac, after just one training session right before Kings Cup, you saw so much of improvement. And that's one thing Igor Stimac has been always vocal about. Give me more time with these boys, and I can make them do wonders. I mean, right now, you really believe Igor Stimac is the right man for the job because you have seen an exponential rise in the quality of football we've played.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? Like, the confidence with which we play under this guy is just immense. I mean, I don't remember the last time we were like, oh, all right. I misread Manish's comment. I was like, I thought he was making that Ronaldo comment that India were better without Shetri. But no, that's not what he means. He means that we were better even though Shetri and Ankit were missing. So, but anyways, as I said, I mean, he's, as you said, he's been pretty vocal that give me time. Constantine की तरह मुझे भगा मत देना. Give me time, please. And I'm building something here with the boys, and that was pretty evident. Only one penalty miss, one penalty striking the post, we would have been in the Kings Cup final. And these games, a lot of people say, oh, it's the Asian qualifiers or the FIFA qualifiers. No, like when you're a nation as low as maybe 110s, 20s, and now you're climbing up the ranks, you're just broken into the hundreds. It's cups like these, because you're not going to win these FIFAs or anything at least the next
Yeah.
20, 30 years, right? So
Yeah.
these are the kind of cups, the SAFF, the intercontinental, or whatever that was. I mean,
Yeah.
the hero wala. And this one, the Kings Cup, like cups like these two tend to give you a lot of confidence boost, because silverware chahiye dekho. Wherever you play, silverware is always good. So that's my opinion. So, but yeah, we missed out. But it was nice.
I mean, obviously, you have to say that winning three trophies in the last 3 months is no small feat. I mean, you won those three trophies: SAF, Intercontinental, Tri Nation. But here you're in Kings Cup, which is even an advanced competition, you can say, because there are only 4 teams in the competition, and majorly some big teams. Iraq, as you said, some big names there. Zidane Iqbal is one name which stood out because he was part of the Manchester United team. Then you
Yeah.
can say some players who was part of the Portuguese team, as Portuguese national league as well. You have to say some top tier players out there who was playing in Europe, and you are competing. The Indian team who took them to the cusp. I mean, if you look at the recent past results of Iraq national football team in itself, says how good they've been. They defeated Qatar, who was part of the World Cup. Saudi Arabia, who defeated Argentina. Drew against Ecuador, who part of the World Cup. South Korea, who are part of the World Cup. And then you came against India. India
Wow.
scored 2 against them. And if not for the penalty, which was considered, India could have possibly defeated such a good team who were out there in display. So this is no mere result. There's number 70 in the FIFA rankings, and you competed against them. And not only you just competed, you really showed what you can do at a global stage. Now, this in itself is a massive improvement. Now talk about. I think we're going to China to play one more trophy, and then we're going to play the Asian Championship. Now talk about those 2 tournaments. I think we can be far ahead in terms of our preparation, in terms of our improvement. If you are given enough time with Igor Stimac, maybe this team can pull off some great results.
Absolutely, and that's what we're speaking. I mean, I genuinely have the confidence now. Seeing the Indian team for the past year or two, that now Indian football, like it wasn't even like we had to stretch so much to give Iraq a challenge. It was like we were playing a normal sort of kind of football, and we were playing a normal style, and we just casually challenged world number 70, and while us just being in the top 100. And that just shows me that we are ready to take the next step. We are ready to compete, and that is where I believe the likes of FIFA need to be more proactive in trying to bring these nations upward and upward. Because you know what, matlab, I mean, you could have this Asia and the best teams in the Asia, but how often do we face South Korea? Like how often do we face Saudi Arabia? We need that level of see. I'm not saying that you keep giving us and stuff, but if I could draw a parallel in cricket, I'd say there was this great stat, not stat, just a fact which I was pretty disturbed about. So basically, जितनी भी teams World Cup में खेल रही है, everyone, each and every one of them is having a series except Netherlands. Now this is not fair, is it? This is not fair. That's not how you schedule. They have literally punched above their weight so high to get into the World Cup. Sorry, I'm just deviating a bit, but just
Yeah.
drawing parallels here that if you don't give countries like India in football and countries like Netherlands in cricket the ample chances, the ample exposure against the, if not the best, but at least someone a level or two above them, then how are they going to challenge? We keep beating Bangladesh, we keep beating Afghanistan, we keep winning those. That's fine. That all of those games. But when it comes to the FIFA World Cup qualifiers or the Asian Cup qualifiers, then we're like, because we've never faced these teams at the biggest stage. So I'd really, want to see FIFA sort of conducting it, and especially India. I might be biased, but don't forget we have like 1.5 billion people. So the potential here is, you may call it bias, but हमेशा काफी high रहेगा. Like काफी high रहेगा in a country like India, because to tap that market financially and even at a sporting level, I mean, both of them, unka union would be the perfect match for Indians as well as FIFA.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're spot on in saying that. I mean, now the biggest question is how often can India go on to play against these top opposition? Now, for example, if you look at this stat in itself, how Iraq have played better oppositions than India
Exactly.
in the recent past, South Korea or Ecuador or Saudi Arabia, Qatar. India haven't really played against any of these top opposition. I know India played Kuwait, Lebanon in the recent past. Iraq was the first major opposition India played. Now, if you look at India's recent past games against Iraq, last time you played them was 2010. I mean, you're playing them after 13 long years. Now, this is
Yeah.
small. This is a very important stat. I mean, I know Iraq. I mean, maybe India would have drawn against Iraq in the past, but let's talk about modern football and where Iraq are right now. And obviously, 13 long years to play against them is a big gulf of difference. And you have to play against the opposition more often in order to at least see where you stand as a team. I mean, I'll just show you some stats of the game, right? I mean, you can say in this stats, what is there on the screen, you look like Iraq is much more dominant team. And they obviously were a dominant team in terms of their technicality. Let's not give two ways about it. They're much more technical because most of the players
Yeah.
play in Europe. But what you saw from Indian team in the first 45, 50, 60 minutes was sheer good quality. I know India went into a defensive mid block, to defend the lead, and that's obviously one thing you can say of them. But India did manage to do that considerably well. I mean, you think yesterday's game, If not for Igor Stimac making those complete a lot of substitution towards that, and especially bringing Branton, changing Sahal, changing the entire midfield, taking off Ashik Kurunian, who was having a very good game indeed,
Yep.
that would have possibly maybe done good for India, because when you change a complete midfield in the middle of the
It's
game,
always a
that
risk.
definitely
Yep.
doesn't help.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, and you're absolutely right in pointing out Ashik, because he was that one player who was looking like that engine. He like India ka Kantagera, and he was that for me in yesterday's game at least. But I think you know what, like it's almost like I trust the manager. I trust the manager because as I said, one training session with them, they go into the game. The way we started, the way we were giving it all, like the way when we scored the first goal and stuff. I mean, the coach would have seen maybe some of the legs dropping now. That stamina meter going into the red zone more and more. So that would have been obviously played onto his mind. But one substitution that I mean would say directly harmed us would be the Brandon one, because he was the one who then got to hit the post. So, but now you can't really calculate these things. But as I said, man, of course there can be ifs and buts. Ki agar hum ise nahi hatate, or at least even if we had to replace maybe one, two substitutions, but just going on replacing a lot of
Yeah,
the whole of their midfield, and then you know. मतलब you just sort of change the whole dynamic, and as you said, mid game left wing back खेलना पड़ रहा है. So I mean, a lot of these things change out and stuff. So it does disrupt the flow. But as Kushagra comes in and points out, Anwar Ali, fantastic. And
yeah,
but the proudest thing for me right now here is that seeing European football, and how the impact of goalkeeper is not just
yeah,
limited to keeping and just keeping the shots away. I
yeah.
mean, I really love, although it's like nothing to do with him, but like he's lamba chauda ekdam, he has that
I think
dominant
Anwar Ali is
physique.
good enough to play in the Saudi Pro League at least. He's one of the best ball playing defenders
Oh,
in Asia by a
Oh,
long mile.
absolutely, absolutely, man, absolutely. He can really lift up Al Shabab from that relegation zone if he goes up there. Is that that's
Absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
right now he's getting a good paycheck in ATKMB, no, Mohun Bagan Super Giants rather. But but to be very honest, if you give him a big paycheck, or if you're going to make him play it somewhere big, I think Saudi Pro League is the next big option, if not Europe. Because this guy's ability, technical ability on the ball for the center back, I'm not saying Indian football history. I mean, you have seen a lot of center backs who are good, who have really been defensively very strong, but the technical ability to play the ball from the back,
Yeah.
be so cool on the ball, I mean, that is one thing which stands out with Anwar Ali, isn't it?
Absolutely, and you know what? I even look at the squad. Like uske alawa bhi I don't see anyone taking the ball in his stride with such confidence. You see these centre backs in Europe, like Van Dijks, they just walk with the ball, and it's almost as if they're playing on butter, and it's that smooth. They just glide through the pitch. He's kind of like that. Like it's almost like no one dares to press him, because anyone else has, we have jitters. Even Sandesh Jingan, who by the way
Yeah,
is a no nonsense defender when it comes to hardcore defending. But
yeah,
when he has the ball, jittery लगता है थोड़ा
yeah,
सा. Already he
yeah,
has to pass fast and people are closing in. But when he has the ball, we are like laid back with no worries to think about here and there. And there's this one thing, and I'm really happy that you did point it out. I mean, I am of the contrary belief. A lot of people say, like, I genuinely saw Sunil Shetty play so many times. We all did, right? And I just can't cry enough about the fact कि काश ये यूरोप चला गया होता in any club. Gosh,
yeah,
I mean, I genuinely, some people say no. I genuinely think even in his 30s, he would have been a Premier League striker for any small club. Championship, though, I can bet. I mean, I'm more than it's like, all right, the opposition is this and that, but there's a quality of goals. Like there's this quality of goals that he scores. I keep remembering that goal in the final against the Air Force Club, was it, or the
yeah, yeah.
semi-final? Yeah, I
Semi-final.
mean, he just on the half turn, half volley, boom. I mean, it's normal business for Sunil Chetri. That's what I believe. लोग कहते हैं कि Indian football को India में रह के, I actually think when people go out of India, not the whole bunch, but when you have like 4 players playing in Europe,
Yeah,
that brings out more exposure. That brings
yeah,
out more sort of recall value for everyone, for not just Indian
yeah,
fans, for foreign fans and stuff. So I really believe we
yeah.
need to have that group as
I
well.
mean, I mean that's where I think we can talk about that one goal which took place yesterday. I mean,
Hmm.
that goal from Mahesha, that play is possibly one of the best goals you've seen of Indian football. I think it was 9 passes put together, pure tiki taka, and you did that against Iraq. It's no small thing. I mean, you have to say that really made you stand up as an Indian football team. And like, wait a minute, what are we seeing over here? Sahal releasing Mahesha in the last moment, and not just that, that entire play which was coordinated. You just have to say that was not some European team, or it was not some high level Asian team. It
Yeah,
was Indian national football team for the first
yeah,
time. You
absolutely.
saw that happening. Yeah, that goal from Mahesha will always be etched in our memories for a long, long time.
Oh, absolutely. And if I remember correctly, it was this Intercontinental Cup only when we were seeing. I was not fortunate enough to see the game live, Govala, or to see that goal live. But I remember there was this pass release to our. I don't remember who the winger who was running, and then he did a roll it, and then he
I think it
passed.
was
I mean, yeah,
Changte
yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, what a goal that was. So like we're seeing these goals more and more often now, and it's pretty good. And as you said, 9 passes to be stitched without interruption, without the opposition. And it's not Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Pakistan. It's Iraq that we're talking about. They're top 70, they're top 75 in the world. I mean, that's no mean feat, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, do you think if we miss Akash was in defense? I mean, I think we did. At least maybe he could have been if he was there in the second half. He's much more compact. And with one thing about Akash is also that with Nikhil Pujari, they can be extremely attacking at times, which really leaves space behind.
Hmm.
Maybe yes, maybe no. It's a 50-50 call with like Akash and Nikhil Pujari. I mean, there are days where you really look back at Nikhil Pujari and be like he could have done better because he tends to leave a lot of space behind. But that defensive unit, what we are seeing with Anwar, Sandesh, Akash, Nikhil Pujari, maybe you can add Ashik because Ashik has become more advanced on the wing. You when you play 4-4-2, Ashik plays more like a left mid, more the left winger than a left back or a right back for you. You think this is now a lot more solid in terms of the players we have? Because remember, we still have a lot of depth over there. I mean, Suresha yesterday also was not so good in the midfield, but at least with Sahal out there in the middle, with Tapa out there, who's much more compact, you can say there's a cohesiveness with this team. And maybe up top is where you're still finding a little bit of difficulty. You're trying to play Manveer. You still want to find a better striker. I still think Shiva Shakti or someone like
Yeah.
Ishan Pandita can be given that opportunity to see how far they go about it. Other than most of the positions are sailing themselves for a big tournament like Asian Championship.
Yeah, I mean, it really becomes pretty important, as you said, like Ashik, someone like an engine like Ashik. When he plays onto the pitch, like you won't classify him as a left back, obviously, but he has that work ethic. He has that knack to get back, and he's one of those old sort of wingers or mids that you had when you played 4-4-2, who just runs up and down the channel. So I do believe that, but as you were really like sort of speaking about Akash, that he does tend to leave a lot of space. See, don't let the of course, see, of course, Iraq was the team here, and they were bossing the possession and stuff. I don't mind that possession, but what I really want you guys to really see, if you could somehow get the stats, is see the stats before 60 minutes, before the clock hit the 60-minute mark, because again, like we are India in football, and once we get the feeling that we might pull off a result here, it's very obvious that we are going to sit back, and we have done that. And as you say, like one of the best things, and when you are mostly going to play this kind of football, one of the best things to happen to you is that you have a settled sort of defensive block, and that's happening. A sort of a core is being formed by Igor Stimac, which is obviously pretty helpful. So if you get a chance, go out and see the stats before 60 minutes. See, no doubt Iraq would be the higher team there as well, but it won't be such a disparity, because after 60 minutes we were poor in possession as well, because that wasn't our sort of main forte. Our wingers, wing backs, all of them tucked in. Even the midfield went back. Iraq were playing in our half, so don't really judge it by that. 21-3. No, it was around 11-10 and then 3 and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it was more comparable, and I think they had 2 shots on target and we had one. So a lot of them came out of the 60 minutes. So yeah, of course, it depends on the game and the style of play. Like I would have really loved, like as you say, it would have been 50-50. But had we had Akash, the way we started, the way we were countering, I mean, come on, like he would have been an asset, wouldn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one thing about Akash. He often tends to create these places where linking up on the right hand side, he's got that about him. From Sandhu's standard, he had a below par game. I would say Sandhu, I've seen Gurpreet Singh Sandhu for a way too long period of time. I know he's good in penalty, but he's not the best in penalties, in my opinion. In my opinion, I still think Amrinder is slightly technically better in terms of penalties. And I know Sandhu has had a lot of success in penalties in the recent past, especially SAF Cup or a little bit ISL semi-finals or wherever he has played. He's got a little bit of more success in the recent past. But let me be very honest, Amrinder can be a choice in the penalties at least, isn't it?
I mean, it's like, are you ready to take that Louis Van Gaal kind of a decision, wherein you have the guts to actually say, Gurpreet, all right, you can maybe sit out right now, and we'll have penalties. And of course, you can't really do that because, as you said, we just had two penalty shootouts, and like when a keeper does well, like even if the keeper is just tucked it onto the bar and the team wins, it's like the keeper's victory. And when they can't, it's like almost the keeper's fault. So you know what? I don't really tend to judge keepers on penalty shootouts, but I do agree with you, Prakash. But it's like फिर तो वो दिमाग का खेल हुआ ना, like I remember the Iraqi goalkeeper jumped in the right direction every penalty. It was actually strange that he was only able to save one. Or
Yeah, I would
no,
not
he
say he's
didn't
the
even
best of
save one.
goalkeeper as well. If you remember the goal he conceded as well yesterday, he was not the best on the game. In the game, at least he was not the
Exactly.
best. In the penalties, he was much better.
Exactly. No, I mean, I won't even say much better. I would actually believe that uska dimag behtar chala, but then his goalkeeping ability didn't sort of help him out because he dived into the right direction every time for the five penalties. His reach wasn't good enough. His grapple wasn't good enough. His push out wasn't good enough. So he touched two or three penalties, if I'm not wrong. And
Yeah,
the one that hit the bar, I don't think it had to do anything with the Iraqi keeper. I think
yeah,
it just struck
absolutely.
the bar there by Brandon. So that's where I believe you can't really judge Sandhu by that. What I was really speaking was that I really like the fact that he has that dominant aura. You know, it almost looks like there's Anwar, there's Jingan, and then there's Gurpreet Singh Sandhu. I feel safe. I feel, of course, Sandesh Jingan was on the bad end of, I think, both the penalties, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
So yeah, but I mean that happens. But uske alawa, I just believe Sandhu, of course, Amarinder. We have seen that he's again, if like he feels a bit better in penalties, but you can't really do that, right? Because just we had two penalty shootout victories. So
absolutely. I
Amarinder
mean,
Singh ko abhi thoda he'd have to
yeah,
prove.
but I still think you can switch the keepers and try them out in different games as well because just putting Amrinder on the bench continuously also I feel
Hmm.
bad for him because he's I still think it's very tough competition between Amrinder and Sandhu in India. If you look at Amrinder last season in ISL, he had a phenomenal stat. Because Sandhu was not bad, Sandhu is not way too behind as well. So it's just
I think
49
Sandhu has
51.
that reputation of Europe, which is like carrying him.
Yeah.
I think 10%, 20% usko push deti hai wo, because
And also his
Amrinder
height
like
to an extent is pretty good. I mean, that really helps,
exactly,
especially when it comes to his reach. But yeah, I mean, these are certain factors Igor Stimac, and obviously he's more like a leader from the back as well, which
exactly, yeah.
I think helps a lot, especially in terms of maintaining defense. You need a goalkeeper who's a leader, who's vocal out there in order to maintain the defensive line. I mean, that we've seen oftentimes in Premier League or even top quality in European level as well, or any kind of football. If your goalkeeper is a vocal one, who's a leader from behind, that certainly sorts out a lot of issues from the back line. But if I have to really pick out some players from yesterday's game and looking ahead into the future, I have to say Andrew Tapa, big up on him. Something to really watch out from. He really improves every game I see him. Ashok Kurunian, we did speak about him. The way in which he stretched yesterday, the Iraqi players, he stretched the pitch yesterday. I found it very fascinating. I mean, he has really improved on that with the time. I mean, you can see he has improved on the job. He's really improved. You're seeing that. I mean, I think the move which he has gone to again 80k, not 80k. Why I keep saying that M1 Bahan Super Giants has really, 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 really helped him, isn't it? Because you see a lot of these players who have been to Mohun Bagan Super Giants under Juan Fernando, they've really improved. I mean, the previous Mohun Bagan Super Giants team and the right one who was the ISL champions, that's really made a lot of difference. They're much more confident on the ball. Let it be Anwar Ali, let it be Sahal yesterday, let it be Ashik. There's something which is good happening in that team.
I mean, it is, and as you've said that maybe it is the right time for them to step up, and as you really pointed out there that if we could draw one parallel, ki Saudi League mein to at least if not anywhere else, if not into Europe, if they do get that sort of exposure, maybe they're on a move or something like that. Like they would be the ones to actually watch out in. And you're pretty right. Like even when I saw, I mean, his work ethic, his game knowledge. Like I don't usually attest it many a times. I just feel ki thoda sa we're always lacking that exposure. But it's almost like when we say, wingers to hold their width and keep stretching the pitch. That'll be always nice. He did that while maintaining his great work ethic, and he was tracking back and coming
Yeah,
forward and staying on
yeah,
the line, because many a times the wingers jump in onto the ball,
yeah,
they're fascinated and they go jump
yeah,
in, and then that really creates some imbalance. So
yeah.
really, yeah, it was pretty interesting to see.
I mean, I personally think, finally, before we end the live stream, I think just to a certain extent, we can now give credit to ISL as well. We're seeing an exponential rise of players being more confident on the ball because of ISL. If you look, India pre 2014, or at least 2015, 2016, when ISL was just growing, if you've seen SAF Cup games, if you had seen Indian team play under Constantine, you saw a lot of reluctancy on the ball, and that you can't blame anybody, because India, the grassroots levels, you are not seeing kids go out there and be extremely confident like what you see in Netherlands or what you see in
Yeah,
Spain.
of
There,
course.
there is that confidence on the ball, right? You are taught to only pass for the first 5 years of your life. No much game time, just pass, 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 pass. So you're confident on the ball. But slowly, the next gen of players, let's be Mahesh, let's be Tapa, who has improved a lot. A lot of these players who are coming out, they are very, very confident on the ball, which is a massive thing. In Anwar Ali as well. So that is a massive rise when it comes to ISL, because most of these teams, the philosophy what they follow in their club level. I mean, let it be Hyderabad FC, or let it be Mohan Bagan Super Giants, or let it be Bengaluru. Maybe not Bengaluru, but some of the teams are much more confident on the ball as they play. Mumbai City FC is one team as well. The players who come out of that feel a lot more confident on the ball. I mean, that is a great news, isn't it? Going ahead.
I mean, exactly, and that is why they say, because it's not a one-way ticket. You want football to grow, you need to grow your pockets to let football grow. I mean, it was a great move. Whatever there may be different opinions about business people in India, but one of the great things is that this is what happens with globalization and with influx of investment. Because I remember, it was so skeptical around the whole ISL market when it began. It was like, oh, but we are pushing out the traditions of Indian football, and which to an extent I also believe. But then un traditions ka kya kare when it's not reaping us results, right? So like we needed to change. And I
Yeah,
remember in back in the day, it wasn't given much of a ticket by any of the Indian people, but then many people like Abhishek Bachchan and Virat Kohli and Ranbir Kapoor, everyone came together. We had the likes of Roberto Carlos, Materazzi, coming in, stepping in, and playing player manager stuff, Delhi Dynamo, sub ekdam milkar again. And of course, since then, utne zyada bade naam have not come back to, but that's how you get the train rolling. That's how you get the whole ball rolling. And since then, we've seen, like, I mean, Ian Hume become our own sort of Alan Shearer stuff here. So I mean, he does it, or maybe not Alan Shearer, Anielka, because he has played like for
yeah,
all the clubs present. So
yeah,
that's what you believe in. And yeah, ye choti choti stories hoti hai that go into the development, and then we can see, because the next step for us is, like, now, as you really said, investment aa raha hai. We're having the Barcelonas of this world, the Liverpools of this world, and I for a fact know, because many of my friends have gone there. West Bromwich Albion has one of the most extensive academies in India. Like, they have a
yeah,
very, very big scouting network and a very extensive academy network in India. So West Bromwich Albion is a big club. Like, ye log aa rahe hain, and the first thing these guys, the European football, teaches us is protect the ball, pass the ball, protect the ball, pass the ball. Don't be afraid of spending time on the ball. So the new generation will learn
yeah,
and stuff. So yeah, I mean, if you see the newer crop of the goalkeepers which are coming in, they're not boot the ball away. They're not David De Gea's of this world. They are the modern goalkeepers and stuff. I mean, of course, I take an early example, but Dheeraj, if you see, even in a struggling Goa, when he does start, I mean, he's one player who does like to play out from the back, and it almost feels like, right, this is where Indian football is heading now. Matlab,
yeah.
so that's what I believe. Yeah.
Truly, truly, well and truly, and I think ISL has changed the dynamics. And just being from Bangalore as well, I just look at the grassroots level system which has been set up by Bengaluru FC. Even when it comes to school teams, taking out players, putting in under eights, under sevens, then having that natural progression. I feel that's wonderful to see, because a lot of these young kids are getting their opportunity in under fives, under sevens, under eights, which is massive. I
Wow.
mean, that's how a grassroots system in India should be. Kudos to the JSW group for setting that up, because that is the right way to go. If every football club in India can do that, let it be Hyderabad, let it be every. I think Hyderabad also has got a very extensive academy at this point as well, with Hyderabad FC outside and Hyderabad Football League. So I think if you all can put together that particular direction for helping India. I mean, you have seen that with in Spain with La Masia, that it be with any other academy, Getafe, Osasuna academies, and all this kind of stuff. I think India will be on the right track because these players will be well oiled by the time they reach under 15s, under 16s. Because under 15s, under 16s are a big level of football. Because in Europe, under 15s, you are making the next big step when it comes to. There is a very minor difference between under 15s and the next professional level because that from there on
Absolutely.
you should be technically good enough to play in the professional level. So I think in India for a long time we often send 10 year, 11 year you can send them to academy, but no, I think that's 7 years too late. 4 years or
Exactly.
3 to 4 years is the right step to start off your footballing career because that's where you start off, and then 11 years, 12 years, from 20 years you can possibly make the next step. Under 17 teams in India are doing good because there are good players coming off. The future is looking good at this point, at least. I mean, as Antariksha also rightly said, investments are coming in. Hopefully next 25 years are going to be very crucial for Indian football because let's be realistic. You can't say you will play 2026 World Cup by saying now, but or 2030. But let's hope 2050, 2047. Let's hope by then we can see realistic growth of Indian
Yeah.
football. That's about it from us. Thank you, Antarik, for joining once again. It was a pleasure taking a lot of questions as well. We'll be back very soon when it comes to cricket stream. Remember, there's an update that India also Pakistan also will be having a reserve day. So hopefully it's not a washout in the Asia Cup, the cricket side of things. So we'll be back talking about Indian cricket very soon because it's cricketing season for the next 2 months at least when it
Yeah.
comes to World Cup and Asia Cup. And hopefully you have an Asia Cup which is not washed out. A lot of politics which has been happening behind the scenes you don't want to talk about. If we get good sport, we'll sit here and enjoy it. Have a good time, all of you. See you all very soon. Do not forget to check out our Instagram page and also the course with Mad About Sports. And do not forget to subscribe to our channel. Also, share this video if you're excited and if you're an Indian football fan, so we can get out the reach and Indian football can reach out to many people as well. Have a good time, all of you. See you all very soon. Bye bye.